Hey everybody, I'm John Kraska, Executive Director for Every Library and the Every Library Institute. It is Library Lovers Week 2025. It's here, folks. We've arrived. February the 11th is the first day of our Library Lovers Week 2025 festival. We're trying to talk to authors, creators, illustrators, editors about what it's like to be a writer these days, why they write, the joy of it all. Because we also want to talk to readers like yourselves, people who are in the creative side of it and the creative conversation with writers and illustrators and editors and the publishing industry. The culture of reading in America right now in libraries is something we should be celebrating. We should be leaning in as library lovers for two reasons. One is that there is some real joy in it all. And the other is that it's under attack in a lot of places. Maybe you're in a state right now that's having some trouble with censorship and book bans. Maybe you're in a place that it's a little calmer right now, and we can lend our support. Every library and the Every Library Institute, we're aligned towards the success of libraries and librarians. We want to have big conversations with the American public, both readers and those who don't necessarily read quite as much, about these institutions and the people who work there. Our work supports political outcomes for libraries like funding and authority. We oppose bad bills in many states. Once in a while, there's a big funding fight to be had as well. We do all of our work for libraries pro bono and for free, which means that I am in the business right now of fundraising. It is Library Lovers Week. I'm putting it up here on the screen for you to see, libraryloversweek.org. You can get a sticker if you donate during Library Lovers Week. They're really fun. They're really cute. And all I need is $3, $4, $5 a month. And we will put that funding to work, supporting libraries again on the ballot, libraries facing censorship and book ban crises, libraries where there's opportunities to really lean in with the community. All right, I'm thrilled today as part of our Library Lovers Week program, our kickoff session, to bring in two wonderful people from the BabyLit series. I'm bringing in Alison and Jennifer for a conversation about what it's like to be, those of you with children, those of you without children, these are the board books that translate classics into things that little kids and their parents can hang out with. I want to introduce them both formally, and then get into a big conversation about what it's like these days to be a writer and why they're writing and illustrating the way they are. So Jennifer Adams is author of more than 60 books for children. Her work has been featured in the New York Times, the Washington Post, Vanity Fair, Parents Magazine. Jennifer has an MFA in writing for children and young adults from Vermont College of Fine Arts. She lives in Salt Lake City, where she works weekends as a bookseller at the King's English Bookshop. And I do want to ask you about that later. That's a great store. Alison Oliver is the author-illustrator of Moon and Sun and the illustrator of 32 BabyLit board books. Alison lives in New York City, where she runs a creative studio called Sugar that focuses on design and illustration. Jennifer and Alison, welcome to Library Lovers Week 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so these came in the mail the other day. Sometimes when we're doing Library Lovers Week or Banned Books Week, I've got a big, thick book to read, and yet I was transported by these. The illustrations in here are absolutely lovely. And the ideas around Great Gatsby or Great Expectations or the other BabyLit series, tell me a little bit. Jennifer, why don't you start? Tell me a little bit about why we're writing for babies right now.
Yeah, well, babies are the best audience. They love your books and they never complain. So we love writing for babies. But what our idea with the BabyLit, the series is to take these beloved classics and then translate the characters or themes or different ideas into something that would appeal to the littlest readers from 0 to 3, and kind of introducing them to concepts so that they feel like these stories belong to them. And then, when they run across them as an adult, there's a familiarity and hopefully a fondness. So we teach, we don't retail the classics. That would be ridiculous. We teach concepts. So we teach colors or counting, opposites, emotions. The Jungle Book teaches animals. We do some fun creative things like Anna Karenina teaches fashion and different kinds of clothing. So they're really fun to work on, and they're fun for the parents too, instead of the parents or grandparents or caretakers just being the basic yellow ball, yellow duck. They can have Mr. Darcy and things that make a fun level for the person that's reading to the kids as well.
That's fantastic. I know that when both of my sons were little, we had some books that we would put into rotation ourselves as parents, and some books that my children wanted very badly every single time, all the time. And it would be kind of amazing if that was Great Expectations or The Great Gatsby. I think that'd be pretty cool. So, Alison, you've illustrated over 30 of the BabyLit board books. Can you share a little bit about the creative process that goes into that? When it comes to condensed version, it's got concepts, but you're doing illustrations, at least in the ones I've seen, very much to period.
Yeah, I try. Jennifer makes it pretty easy for me because she comes up with the primer concept. I do read the book beforehand, as even if I read it in high school, I try to reread it, and then I do lots of research. I really like the research part because each one of these is different in different places in different time periods, and so I look at what kind of clothes did people wear, what did the houses look like, what kind of colors would feel appropriate. And then I design the books as well, so I consider that for typography as well. And then I usually do an illustration and send it over and get feedback and see what they think, and then we go from there.
That's very interesting. I didn't realize that that you would be doing typography as well, but that makes a lot of sense. The image on the page isn't independent of the font and the kerning and everything.
Yeah, the typography really gets built in some books more than others, but because the series kind of happened because I was doing book design for Gibbs Smith, so that's how I knew Jennifer. So I come from a graphic design background and I love it. I love working with type. And for these books, the type is so integral to the art that it just makes sense.
The images in a children's book are supposed to carry a tremendous amount of information. And as Jennifer was saying, you're trying to teach certain sorts of concepts that are universal literacy concepts, it sounds like. How do you approach that sort of abstract, if you will, and then bring it into a visual idiom?
Well, because of the primer nature of the book, if we're counting things, then Jennifer's already figured out we're counting buttons or we're counting houses or something like that. So I kind of know the subject matter that I have to take on, and then I just have to put it in the context of the story. And, I like to weave in kind of details from the story and the artwork to keep the flow of the narrative going as best I can.
Mm-hmm. It's it is an area that I'm fascinated with. Because I've been a consumer and a reader of so many over the years. I didn't pick up as a parent a book for myself. I picked it up for my kid. And yet the interaction that we had, Jennifer, you're trying to bring in parents and kids together with some big ideas. I mean, love, nature, adventure, for these young minds. How do you balance that with staying true to the original story? If I read it in high school, it's one of my favorites. Oh my goodness, I got this as a gift because all my friends know that I love The Great Gatsby. How do you balance the original story and still make it engaging for both those toddlers and the parents?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think of it as kind of two audiences. So I'll always have the child as the primary audience. It's for them. They need to love it and respond to it and interact with it. And then we try to have like a second layer, if you will, where we can layer in sometimes, little jokes. I remember when Sense and Sensibility came out, that was right around the time Quirk Books did Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters. If you remember Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Right, and Alison there was a bridge and a little river, and Alison hid a little sea monster in the water. So it was like a little nod, like a little joke to the parents. But we do, it's really complicated. It's a lot harder than you might think to bring that down. But we try to have a narrative. Like I try to organize the story in the shape of the book in a lot of ways, like the scenes that we put in. Our very first one was Pride and Prejudice. It starts out with the houses, Longbourn, where the family lives. It goes through, it has the marriage proposals. So it follows the shape of the original story, which maybe the kids wouldn't know, but the parents would find satisfying, or, puts favorite characters in, or, favorite details that resonate and are enjoyable. The Great Gatsby that is a parties primer, so it's all about celebrating how the Gatsbys knew how to throw a party. So it has food and invitations and music. So all those things are fun for kids, and then the adult would remember those actual scenes and what was happening at the party.
Oh, I love the idea of a party primer for toddlers. I think that's how often do we get to wear a hat? There's I mean, some families have a hat tradition every birthday, I know, but I think maybe ours petered out when the kids were around 5 or 6 or 7. I'd love to get back to a hat tradition like that.
Yeah, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun. You're that's really the only thing you want a 3-year-old to know about the Great Gatsby, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's some other parts of it that are a little bit more complicated.
Yeah. So you make it really fun for the kids on the things that you can, and then there's the complicated book for when they're adults. So.
Yeah, so I'm sure that you've met readers, fans of the BabyLit series. Are there's some surprising things that you've heard from parents, or even heartwarming things that you've heard from folks about your series?
One of my favorite things is when people will send me, people I don't even know, will send me that their little kid wanted to dress up as one of the characters. So,
that's so cool.
It'll be like a little girl's like, my daughter wanted to be Anna Karenina for Halloween. Or my very favorite one is a mom told me that her daughter's first word was horses from Alison's illustration in one of the BabyLit books. So it was horse, and like that I just love. Or somebody once sent me a little video of their little teeny boy saying Queequeg because he's in the Moby Dick book, and it was so delightful to see.
That's fantastic. I mean, to be intimately involved in a family's life like that, that's really a special moment. So the intimacy of it all, it's parent, it's guardian, it's caregiver, it's child on the lap, and that intimacy of that book, and that moment of sharing like that, that must be a really rewarding thing to be doing every day as creators, authors, and illustrators.
Yeah, publishing is hard, and like you mentioned, the book bans and some of the things can be really hard or disheartening, and then you get these experiences and you see a little baby's face light up with something that you made, and it kind of reminds you why it's all worth it, right?
Yeah. Does it ever bother you that they end up chewed on though and gummy? No? Okay.
That's the best thing. Although I do know a lot of parents that buy chew sets. They buy a set that their babies can chew on and sleep with, and then they're like, these are my set that I keep on the shelf so that they can preserve the beautiful package and art of it. So.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah.
So you're a writer illustrator team here. Folks who aren't in the publishing business, folks who don't do this kind of work day to day are I mean, I always am fascinated by hearing what it's like. Can you take us through just what it's like to develop an idea, move a manuscript, hand it off to each other? How do you review it back? What's the back and forth in the process?
Yeah. Do you want me to grab that, Alison, or do you want to?
Well, you could start since it starts with you.
So we start with a concept. There's a lot of research I do when we started to see, what is both a classic but also in pop culture. So also the regular readers love and respond to. So there's a movie, or the Christmas Carol was an early book that we did, because it's not, you don't have to necessarily be someone that reads all of Dickens to have the Christmas Carol and Scrooge.
Yeah, it's kind of in the gestalt, it's in the culture.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we put a lot of thought into what books we do, what books we've done first. And then when you get to 32 books, it gets a little harder each time because we don't want to just do the same thing over and over again, right? So we want to think about how it fits into that whole list. And same thing, we don't want to do 30 color primers. So we want to be what is this going to be? How are we going to tell this story? So the Jungle Book is animals, or Frankenstein was anatomy, so it taught all the body parts, which was cute, like arms and legs.
I haven't seen that one, but I can imagine what's the ears, nose, and toes kind of
Yeah,
song?
yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. So then we run that by the publisher, who is obviously our third very active partner in all of this, and they have ideas and input. And then once we agree on that and we get a contract, then I read the original. I also will watch movies or plays, or maybe even read a book about the book, to just really do a lot of research, like Alison mentioned earlier, to really know what we're doing and know what we're talking about and represent it in a legitimate way. We're not just watching the Disney movie and making a book. We're really going back to the original text. And so then I write something. Before I finish it, I usually run it by Alison and be like, do you like this direction? And she's such a good creative partner. We've worked together for so long now that I feel like we really inform each other's work. And it's really, really lucky. It's very unusual for a writer and illustrator to be able to work this closely on this many projects for this many years. So that's been lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I have a manuscript, I send it to the editor. She has comments or changes, and then she sends it to Alison. And then I'll let Alison say what she does when she gets it.
Also, you've mentioned already about doing some of that primary research. Color palettes, though, styles. How do you? What goes through your head when you hit the project?
That's a good question. It's not always the same. Sometimes the story really asks to be approached differently. Like Wizard of Oz, we did, and it was colors primer, and I decided to do all the art out of cutout paper. So that was a much different approach. And I think it was just because I was thinking about just color and shapes of color, and what would happen if I just thought about all the illustrated items as shapes of color.
Mm-hmm.
So it does change every time. We have upcoming, Jen, I can say what we have upcoming.
You can, yes.
In the fall, we have Macbeth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and it's a potions primer.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that one involved a lot of, charcoal and black ink and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, and it's a lot of flower drawings. What else have I done? I do a lot of collage-y things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
My childhood library experience was all about Ezra Keats, checking out Ezra Keats books over and over and over. So I love collage. And yeah, so I'll do, I guess what's maybe unique about this, usually people want to see sketches, but Gibb Smith and Jennifer let me just do a full illustration, and then I show it to them complete.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go one at a time like that. I don't even sketch out a whole book, which I think is not the usual way, but it works.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're either going to, no offense, Alison, they're either going to love it or they're going to hate it when they see
right.
that. Yeah. So
I show them one at a time, just in case.
Right. You're right. It's fantastic.
But one thing that I love about Alison's art too is again, when you're building a library we're at 34 books now, to have the color palettes and the styles and the type and all this we're saying, they're all distinct and they're all specific to the book, but then they all work together as a whole set. They all, if you see two BabyLits, they're part of the same series, even though they could be quite different. So I think that takes a lot of skill, and I love how Alison's kind of pulled that off.
That's real cool. All right, you both mentioned libraries. I want to put up our stickers again and our fundraising, because it is Library Lovers Week, and I do need people to lean in a little bit, make a donation team. You get a nice sticker, none of which are produced by Alison. Alison, we have to commission you for something. Now that we've had this conversation, I'd love to commission you for something here. But folks, go to libraryloversweek.org and throw us a little bit of cash, and we will send you a sticker of your choice, and then we will put it to work supporting libraries. How much do libraries intersect? I mean, these are family conversations, they're family sit-downs, they're family in the house, but how much is done in the library world? and how much do libraries matter in your publishing portfolio?
Well, I have a lot of friends who are librarians, and I had kind of always thought, oh, for this board book size, maybe they wouldn't have as wide of a reach in the library because, like you're saying, the kids do chew on them, whatever. And my friends are like, no, what are you talking about? Like, board books is a huge thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
They're very popular. We love them. We love your books. So I've you get the librarian story time, and you get the families coming in, and just making, just as a literacy thing, making these books available to people, that seems so valuable to me.
Mm-hmm. I know that there's a tendency amongst the American public who use libraries to go to the library, try out a book, bring it home, try it out, and then they buy it. They buy it for themselves and their families. They buy it to give as a gift. You find that for us, I don't know how many copies of Harry the Dirty Dog we gave away. We give as gifts because we first got out of the library. I think there's something really magical about helping people connect with new books, new products like that in that kind of setting. It's a low barrier to adoption, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So some people have library stories. I mean, it is Library Lovers Week. I want to hear yours. And some people have library stories. Some people have librarian stories. Can I put you both on the spot and hear what yours are?
Sure.
Well, my librarian stories are as an adult. So I come from a book shop work. I work as an independent bookseller at the King's English, where we buy and hoard our books. And then we have a book club with those booksellers and a number of children's librarians. And we always say if there was a fist fight, the children's librarians would win every time. They're smarter, they know more than we do. And we, like the booksellers, we know a lot. We read a lot, but librarians, they know everything. They know the answers of everything. So my librarian friends are like my huge heroes that have come into my life as adults. So
that's really great. Allison, what's the library or librarian, story that you want to tell?
Well, like I said, that Ezra Keats that is like maybe my first solid book memory, is that my mom and I would go to the Crescent Hill Library in Louisville, Kentucky, still there.
Nice.
And I would go for Snowy Day or Whistle for Willie, and I would, when the week was up or 2 weeks, whatever it was, I would want to just recheck it out. Mm-hmm. And that is when my mom explained what sharing was. Other kids needed to be able to check it out too. So we'd have to take breaks, and then I'd get it again.
Mm-hmm. That's really fantastic.
Yeah.
The opportunity to be involved, through libraries in people's lives, and the touch that libraries have on folks around the country. I think it's really wonderful. To be able to hear a story about that, about sharing like that. I think that's great. People forget, I think, that's kind of the core of what libraries are supposed to do. How do we get together as neighbors? How do we get together as taxpayers? And maybe we do a little bit of something good, for the common good. It's so hard these days to have a conversation like that.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. All right, I want to wrap up with you on one of my big questions. Looking through your catalog of over 30 titles in the BabyLit series, and you mentioned earlier, Allison, where do you go next? Where do you go next? How do you what's the one that you'd love to do but you're not sure if you can get away with? Let me do that question.
For me, it's the Canterbury Tales, because I kind of specialized in medieval literature in my undergrad, and I can just imagine the art that Alison would do with the medieval art, and I also think the characters would be perfect because it would be like the miller, or the different professions that they had. So it might be we might do it something like the Great Expectations, which is an occupations firm.
Sure.
But I don't know if there's as broad of a reach to the regular parent for the Canterbury Tales, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
That's an interesting idea. Allison, do you have one that's in your back pocket that if you could someday you would?
1984.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Jennifer said it to me, and ever since she said it, it's all I think about.
I'm just waiting for it to be in the public domain.
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask if you celebrate Public Domain Day every year, because don't we get Steamboat Mickey at some point?
No, maybe. Well, we just did get the Great Gatsby. Earlier on, Allison and I had wanted to do the Great Gatsby. It wasn't available. So it just came out. And also, it's the 100-year anniversary of the novel this year. So that's kind of a fun year for ours to be releasing as well.
Yeah, Public Domain Day is a
Is
big
that true?
celebration.
His 100-year birthday or 100-year birthday of the book?
I think it's got it. Well, forgive me. I have to look it up.
It must be Fitzgerald's birthday, right? I don't know.
I thought it was the book.
I just gave you bad information. It'll give us something to Google when we're done.
There you go. Well, Alison, Jennifer, and the whole BabyLit, please say hello to the whole BabyLit team for us. This is a distinctive brand. It's a really strong way for people to connect with classics. I love the idea of moving kids into some familiarity with it, while also having those resonant moments for the parents themselves. Thank you so much today for sharing about BabyLit. And this is a preview again, folks, for The Great Gatsby, which is coming out when, Jennifer?
March 11th.
And then we've got Great Expectations as well, is on the same calendar.
Same day, March 11th, pub date. Yep.
That's fantastic. So libraries everywhere, booksellers everywhere. What's your preferred online store too, by the way?
For me, it's bookshop.org, because a portion of it's an online sale that delivers to your house in perfect condition, and then you give a portion of yourself to whatever local independent bookstore you want.
That's fantastic. And then if you happen to be a team in Salt Lake City, swing by the King's English Bookshop and you can meet Jennifer in person. So Jennifer, Alison, thank you. And everybody here on watching Library Lovers Week, I have to put up the crawl again to say libraryloversweek.org, $3, $4, $5, get yourself a nice sticker. So Jennifer, Alison, thank you for being part of it today with us. Hang out for me. I want to see you in the green room after we wrap up, okay?
Okay,
Thanks so much.
thank you.
Okay, take care, team. Here's the stickers first, and then we're going to close with the nice banner here.